Yo, boxing aficionados. What's up? What's going on? Hey, yo, check this out. Boxing fans are the absolute worst, another big fight, another controversy, man. Another so-called robbery. That's what boxing fans do, call everything a robbery. And what it really boils down to is some butt-hurt, know-it-all boxing fans who can't stand the fact that the fighter they perceived as nothing but a brawler, a minimally skilled headhunter, right? Turns out to be just as good at boxing, if not better, than their favorite, or if not better at it than their favorite supposedly elite level fighter, man. First of all, let me just say that what we watched yesterday, or rather what I watched, I'm going to keep it on myself. What I watched yesterday was high-level scientific methodology being implemented in the ring, man. And the fight that it most closely reminds me of, and not in terms of how both fighters fought, but in terms of the intensity in which both these pugilists were operating with, and the level that these guys were on reminded me of Roberto Duran versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Roberto Duran versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler was not a classic in terms of action. It was not an Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward. It wasn't a knockdown, drag-out fight. But what it was a fight where you could actually kind of like see the machinery in their brains moving along and applying tactic. And for those of you who haven't watched that, I would suggest to go look at that fight. Like I said, you're not going to be amazed at the action in it. For some, they may find it boring, but for people who appreciate the art and majesty of really high level boxing, I think you'd enjoy this fight. It was a tactical masterpiece. And this fight between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev was reminiscent of that. It had a lot more action in it than the Duran Hagler fight, but nevertheless, it had, in my opinion, just as much high-level scientific tactics being employed in the ring, man. And therein lies the problem, that you have boxing fans who could never, ever in their lives imagine that Artur Beterbiev had that kind of skill. That Artur Beterbiev was more than just power. That Artur Beterbiev's, although the Artur Beterbiev was not no flat-footed fighter. He's not a flat-footed fighter. Artur Beterbiev is not a flat-footed fighter. He's not clumsy at all. He is well-balanced and has pristine footwork. But his footwork is slight, is tactical, it has purpose. Every step that he takes in the ring has a purpose, man. And he is more than someone who has to operate at a certain distance in order to get his shots off. He's more than that. See, Dmitry Bivol, he bores me to tears, quite frankly. He bored a lot of people to tears. He's a great fighter. He's great at what he does, in and out, the fencing style, always what does it say? Dictating distance or managing distance. But he couldn't do that against Artur Beterbiev. He couldn't manage distance against Artur Beterbiev. He couldn't control distance. He was not controlling distance. Stop it. I heard this guy, what's his name? I call him Moran. What is it? The guy that he's with Chris Mannix and Mora. I call him Moron. You know, he went on and on about how this was a robbery, that the judges got it wrong and this and that. Look, man, at the end of the day, you have to admit, if you're a judge, what are you seeing in that ring? People are acting as if Bivol put on this masterclass hit and don't get hit, Floyd Mayweather type of performance. Man, he did not put on the type of performance that, let's say, Floyd did against Canelo, where he jabbed and stifled Canelo's output. He didn't shut Beterbiev down. Very, very much so did he spend a lot of time with his back to the ropes. Beterbiev, he was not, he couldn't be, it was no ring general shit. That's what what's his name, Moron, says, that Bivol was the ring general. No, he wasn't. On what planet? On what planet was he the ring general? How are you a ring general if you're getting backed up against the rope and dinged back and forth? And the other thing, he says, Bivol was catching everything on the gloves. Okay. Well, guess what? You don't think Beterbiev was catching everything on the gloves? I mean, at the end of the day, Beterbiev was the guy who was known to cut. Beterbiev was the one who, between those two, Beterbiev was the one that's been known to bruise, to cut, to bleed, right? At the end of this fight, Beterbiev's face was like nothing happened, like he wasn't even hit. Beterbiev, how did that happen? Maybe he parried, maybe he caught things on his shoulders, right? Maybe he was the one who managed distance, right? That's what I saw. And again, let me just say, if the fight would have been scored for Bivol, I would not have been surprised at that decision, and I wouldn't have been mad at it. I wouldn't have been mad at it, because my prediction was that if it went to decision, it was probably going to be Bivol. Not because I thought that Beterbiev couldn't box, but because, fighters who have a certain reputation, they get the benefit of the doubt. They get the benefit of the doubt when it comes, in the eyes of the judges, when scoring a round. It becomes, if it's like a round where there's no action in that round, it's boring, hardly any punches get thrown, they'll give it to the fighter with the defensive reputation rather than the fighter with you know, the the reputation of being a knockout artist or an all action brawler. They just will, just based on that. I think that that happens with what's his name, um, Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins engaged in a lot of boring fights, man. He grappled, he punched, then he let go, and then he grappled again. And 1-2 punches, grapple, let you go, and boom, boom, boom. It was mad fights, a lot of fights where the guy hardly ever happened, hardly anything happened in the ring in terms of action, like excitement, but he still got the nod in the rounds and won on decision based on reputation alone. Floyd Mayweather in the second half of his career as Money May, same thing. He got the nod based on his reputation alone, right? Who else? Andre Ward against Kovalev. Andre Ward against Kovalev. The fight went the distance. He got the decision. Even though he got dropped in that fight, because when the fight became boring, he got all those rounds, all those swing rounds that could have gone either way, or that nothing happened in. He got the nod in all those. He got the nod in all those rounds. That's how he got that controversial win over Kovalev in the first fight. You know, and so I thought that if a fight were to go to a decision, that it would be Beterbiev who got the nod. Well, the fight went to a decision, and it was rather it would be BIVOL who got the nod, but the fight went to decision, and guess what? Artur Beterbiev got the nod. You know why? Because he was never controlled. BIVOL was not controlling Beterbiev. BIVOL was not controlling Beterbiev. There was no control. He exerted no control. He didn't really grapple with him. He couldn't, what they call that, mitigate or stifle his punch output, which is what really great defensive fighters do. It's not about just making people miss, but really just stifling his punch output. You'd see fighters who threw a lot of volume against other fighters would not throw any punches against Mayweather, because Mayweather knew how to mitigate that, how to control your punch output, how to keep your hands in your pocket or in a defensive position just with the jab. You know, Andre Ward does that. Hopkins did that. This guy BIVOL didn't do that against Beterbiev, because BIVOL is not the type of person who is a back foot fighter. He's not that type of slick. BIVOL is a pressure fighter. BIVOL himself is a pressure fighter. He's a pressure fighter who was made to go backwards and fight off the back foot and use his legs in the wrong direction. Because he uses his legs a lot in and out fencing, but this time he was circling and getting out of trouble and angling and trying to basically not get hit. But even so, he would get backed up into the ropes and catch 2 or 3 body shots. Not even body shots, but punches to the arms. And that's enough. Or catching, he caught a lot of punches in his gloves, but the gloves were up against his face. So now his head is snapping back. And Beterbiev doesn't give a rip. He doesn't give a damn. He's gonna just keep punching. That's the one thing that Beterbiev does. You're not gonna mitigate his punch output. He's just gonna punch and hit you wherever he can. You know. And so this controversy, again, if the fight would have been if it would have been a draw, it would have been fine. If it would have been given to Beterbiev, to BIVOL, I could have seen how it went to BIVOL, just because at the end of the day, you're probably known as the slicker or better boxer. You're going to get the nod and the decision just for going to 12 rounds. But the judges didn't have any. They weren't having any of that. The judges gave credit for effective aggression. It was effective aggression. You can't tell me that the aggression and pressure that Beterbiev put on BIVOL was not effective when you saw BIVOL bouncing all over the ring, backing up off the ropes, in trouble in some of those, especially in the last 4 rounds. He was in trouble a lot. He was never groggy. He was never, let's say, on his last legs to say, but he was definitely the one getting dinged up, and it wasn't Beterbiev, man. So I just laugh at these people that want to turn everything into a controversy and call everything a robbery unnecessarily. But you know what? It's a blessing in disguise, because guess what? The rematch is a bigger fight than the first fight between these two. And let's say, hopefully, that the IBF, one of these knucklehead organizations, doesn't decide to call a mandatory and strip a fighter, strip Beterbiev, for not defending one of his belts, in case, he goes for a rematch and then gets stripped of a belt. I hope none of that happens, man, because it'd be a shame. It'd be a shame, especially in the 175-pound division with these two fighters. None of them are Canelo. None of them have Mexican fan bases or Puerto Rican fan bases. These two fighters actually do need the belts to be relevant. They need to be undisputed champions in order to remain relevant, or to be at the level of relevance that they are right now. They need belts. There's fighters who need belts and some who don't. Canelo doesn't really need a belt, There are a few out there who don't, but these two guys do. These two guys do. They need those belts in order to be relevant, to get the most money that they can. Undisputed, they need to be involved in fights for undisputed championship belts in order to be relevant, to make the highest money against Morel, or the winner against Morel, against the winner of Morel Benavidez, for example. That would be a great big fight, especially if Benavidez wins. If Benavidez wins, he'd bring in that PBC allure and somewhat Mexican fan base, and for him to be going undisputed, challenging for undisputed against a Beterbiev, would be great. It would be great. It would be just as big. It would be huge. But if he happens to just challenge for somebody for a vacant belt because one of these entities decides to strip Beterbiev, that would be a black eye on boxing. So I hope the sanctioning bodies stay out of the 175 division. Just let these guys be undisputed and keep having undisputed fights one after another, just like the Monster Inoue is doing. The Monster is doing his Mandos right after the other. And they're all big fights. They're all for big belts. He's a big name, and it's always fun disputed, and it's fun. It's a great occasion for it to happen like that. And I hope the same thing happens at 175 pounds for Beterbiev, man. We need to see that rematch. The only other option, which I know wouldn't happen, would be a Canelo fight. If he could get a Canelo fight for undisputed, Canelo moved it, but that guy is not mentioning Beterbiev's name for a reason. Canelo's never really mentions Beterbiev, man. Never has. He has, oh yeah, that'd be a big fight. Yeah, that's something that would interest me. But he's not out there, oh, let me get that guy. He doesn't. No, he knows better. He knows that he can't do nothing with that man in the ring. But if he did want to do one of those daring to be great fights and move up and challenge Beterbiev, that'd be a fight that I definitely would pop some popcorn for and watch and buy the pay-per-view, man. Anyway, it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. This is Boxing Aficionados. I am the Filthy Casual. If you like the video, please like it. Please share it. Leave some comments. I would like to know how y'all feel. Oh, before I go, I'll say this. In the rematch, and you can leave your thoughts in the comments, who you think has a better chance of winning the rematch between rematch between BIVOL and Beterbiev? Would it be BIVOL, who can he fight much? Can he do anything different? Can he do anything different? Can he be better than he was against Beterbiev this first time around? He had 3 fights this year, so he was well-oiled at 100%, fought a hell of a fight. He fought Beterbiev coming off a 280 plus days, almost 300 days layoff, for Beterbiev due to a knee surgery, right? And clearly, in my opinion, Beterbiev needed to shake off the cobwebs the first 3-4 rounds just to get in the groove. Beterbiev was not at his best. He missed a lot of punches that he normally lands. It was like he was just off calibrate, like he was not sharp. His punches were coming out, but he wasn't sharp. So who has a better chance of winning? And I guess I'm asking the question. I should be able to perhaps ask it in a more objective manner, but that's not my style. Obviously. But nevertheless, who do you think has a better chance of performing at a higher level? Beterbiev, now maybe after having what really was a tune-up fight for him. This was a tune-up fight for Beterbiev, really. Or can BIVOL, now having seen Beterbiev up close and personal, figure out something else he could do? Who could do better in the second fight? All right. So leave that in the comments, and we can discuss it, man. It is what it is. Ain't what it ain't. This is Boxing Aficionados, and I am Alexis Numbero, a.k.a. the Filthy Casual. I'm out.